Hi everyone, it's Nicole here today with a set of birthday cards using the new wplus9 Oh My Gostrich stamps and coordinating dies, as well as the new Trellis background 1 and 2 dies and the and many more stamp set. So lots of new stamps and dies from the latest June 2018 release from wplus9. I thought these little ostriches were just hilarious, so cute and fun, and they make some amazing cards. So this is the stamp set we're going to use today. I'm going to start by stamping my images on some smooth white cardstock using a ink for Copic coloring. I'm using the Fawn jet black ink for my Copic coloring today. And I'm just going to stamp everything that I think that I'm going to need for my card. I ended up needing to use another piece of paper because I'm going to need multiples of the balloon from the stamp set. I also want the hairbow, it could also be a bow tie, the tie, and then the close-up image of the two ostriches' faces together. Something I want to mention about that is when I stamped this originally, I stamped it way too close to my other images. If you want to use it with the coordinating die, you're going to need to leave plenty of room, and you can kind of see that up in the upper right corner of the screen. This is going to die cut a circle with those two ostrich faces. It's fantastic for using with that circle greeting that reads happy birthday to you from the and many more stamp set. So if you want to combine those together, it's really awesome. But there's circle dies that come with the Oh My Gostrich coordinating die set, and they work great, but you just have to keep that little image kind of apart from the rest so you leave plenty of room to die cut it. Before I move on too much, I also need multiple banners. All three of my cards are going to feature a banner with a stamped greeting. I am using greetings not only from Oh My Gostrich, but also from and many more to customize those banners. Next, I'm going to color in my ostriches. I'm only going to share coloring one of them on screen since all of the images are colored the same. The only difference, the close-up does not show the feathers, but otherwise everything is exactly the same. So for the body of the ostrich, anything that isn't the feathers, that is colored with E30, 31, and 35. The beak is going to be YR 31, 23, and 24. When we move to the feathers, this is going to be a different color combination. I played around with something a little new today. That is E71, 74, 77, and warm gray 8. And this I kind of went all over with E71 to give a nice base color, and then I am creating that feather look by using a flicking motion with my marker. So I'm feathering in, if you will, the feathers for my bird. And I went over this and kind of got a good blend, going in with my lightest color to blend that kind of into E71. But if you lose some of that definition, because here I went back with E71 and kind of feathered in from the other direction, you can go back over it as many times as you need to. So I ended up kind of going over the birds twice because I really wanted that awesome feather definition. I think it adds a lot to these images. And this color combination was taken directly. I looked up an ostrich picture on Google and then kind of picked my Copic markers from that, trying to get as close to realistic as possible as you can get for cute little images. Now, the peachy colors that I'm going to use throughout the rest of the coloring are R30, 32, and 35. That's going to be for a balloon, the hairbow, the top of the cake itself, I guess I want to say. The green colors I'm using for the banners, or the mint color, pardon me, that I'm using for the banners and for the cake stand are G00, G02, and G16. I love this color combination for mint. The yellow color combination I'm using for the balloon and the tie, and also the tops of the candles, Y11, Y08, and then a little Y19. And we're going to go back with our mint colors for the cake stand. I added a lot of the accessory images for each of these cards. The backgrounds on each are going to have a lot going on, so I kind of kept my images to the center of each design, which you'll see when we start putting them together. So here's where I had stamped originally the ostrich way too close to my other images. So here's what we're going to use as a hair bow. The yellows again for the tie, and also the party hat. And then we have one last banner to color, and that's going to be in those same mint colors there. I did this very assembly line style. Now here is my green balloon, and this is YG21 and 23 and 17. I kind of decided I needed one additional balloon for my cards, or for the card that has the balloons, I guess I want to say. So we're going to die cut everything with the coordinating Oh My Gostrich dies, and then we're going to start putting our cards all together. And you can kind of see I've got some of my die cutting done here for the card, laying out my designs before I actually start putting them all together, making sure I have everything I need. I'm going to take a scrap piece of black cardstock now and stamp additional greetings from both Oh My Gostrich and many more on black cardstock, and I'm going to stamp these with a clear embossing ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder before trimming them into a thin strip. This little thin strip is going to be tucked right underneath the banner on each of my cards. And I think it will round out the birthday design really nicely. I'm going to use that powder tool first to kind of deactivate and keep the embossing powder hopefully only on the stamping itself. I stamp those all in one line. That way I can just trim them into one strip and then just cut them apart with my scissors. Really simple, easy, and very quick. Gonna just grab my heat tool now, heat set that white embossing powder. White text embossing, sentiment embossing on black cardstock is one of my favorite things to add to almost any card. I'm going to use my Tonic guillotine trimmer now to just trim this into a nice thin strip. And then I like to use my fingers to wipe away any of that powder residue. And there's what the little greetings are going to look like once tucked underneath the banner on each card. Now that I have die cut my circle frame, and I die cut it with the Oh My Gostrich ostrich dies first, and then I use that circle frame to die cut it again, because we're going to do a little inlay design, and that's going to make this circle design. We're going to take that happy birthday to you greeting, circular greeting from And Many More, stamp that with black ink right there. And I want to make sure I get it exactly where it's going to go. We're going to stamp that with a black VersaFine ink, and that's going to add a great decorative element. We're actually going to use this to create a little shaker window. So two of my cards are more flat with a die cut layered background, and this one's going to have a decorative window behind it with a little bit of shaker. This is a piece of Simon Says Stamp mint cardstock. We're going to use the outside die, the one we used to create that circular outer shape for the ostrich. and die cut this from the mint cardstock to create our window. It's going to create this awesome design all the way around, and then we'll inlay our circle in that. So it's going to be really, really cute. Now I thought that the outer frame itself, or the front of my card, the shaker frame, needed some decorative elements. You could definitely leave it plain just like this, but I thought it would be fun to take some of the confetti and sprinkle images from And Many More and stamp these all over the front of my panel. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use a combination of Simon Says Stamp Mint and Mint Candy inks to stamp all over this, and I'm even going to use some Lawn Fawn Cilantro ink. That's kind of my color palette for all three cards, mints and green, kind of a limey green. And we're just going to use these kind of abstract images to stamp all over. This is kind of a confetti one. No perfect stamping here. I just want an all over tone on tone confetti finish. It is very faint when it is dry, but you do get that little splatter effect all over, which I love. Then we're going to take the kind of messy circles image and stamp this all over. That first stamping was with mint ink, mint on mint cardstock, then the mint candy. And mint candy is going to be slightly darker, still tone on tone, but it's going to show up even more. And we're going to create these circles all over the background. And then in the centers of each of these circles, we're going to take another grouping of splatters from the And Many More stamp set and stamp this with cilantro ink. So all three colors are featured on the front of this shaker. Once we have that done, it's time to start putting together our shaker. I'm going to put some nice strong adhesive on the back of this panel. Add a piece of acetate on the back of this to create my window. And then I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of my frame here. And I decided to use glue dots and a tape runner. I'm using both. Instead, I don't want to use liquid adhesive because it has a tendency to kind of come out from underneath dies, and I don't want that on my shaker window. So I purposely used the glue dots here, and I want to make sure I have those all, or have the whole thing covered really well. And then we want to inlay that right on top of the window. So the actual window is only going to be kind of back behind these little ostrich. We'll add the tie and the hair bow. I like that you can dress them up a little bit. I think that's super fun. You could consider using the bow as a bow tie, and you could use the party hat. You could use any combination of those great accessory images. I'm going to use a black gel pen to go over the eyes. And once that's dry, we'll take a white pen and add detail to the eyes. We're also going to add a plaid design to the tie with the white pen. I'm going to take some foam adhesive now and put this back behind the happy birthday banner. And this is going to be popped up right underneath the window. And then we'll take a little 1/8 inch score tape and put that back behind the little embossed sentiment strip and pop that right underneath the dimensional banner. And that's going to finish off the front of the shaker. We can flip it over then and start adding our foam adhesive and then add our shaker material inside. I purposely did not want this shaker to be super high. Because this panel is A2 sized, I have found when I double up the Scotch foam adhesive, it sometimes really makes it hard to fit my cards inside of a standard envelope. So to kind of get around that. A lot of times I'll make my shaker smaller than A2 sized. I didn't today, so what I'm going to do is only use one layer of foam tape to create my shaker well, if you will. And that works okay if you're using a fairly flat material inside your shaker. And I'm going to use confetti instead of more cupped type of sequins or seed beads today, so that I am still able to shake up my shaker and use it, but it doesn't have to be such a high profile for that shaker. We're going to back the window, and we also don't want the shaker material to fall all the way down to the bottom. Oh, really quick, I forgot. On the background panel, this is some Cilantro cardstock. I decided it was a little too plain, so I took another image from the And Many More stamp set and stamped Cilantro ink on the Cilantro cardstock. It adds just a little touch of interest to that background. And I'm just using a scrap piece of, I think, from my glue dots here to mask off certain areas. But we want to go around. And I just wanted it to be filled in quite a bit. It doesn't have to be all the way, just kind of in a more circular shape. And a lot of this isn't going to be seen, so I didn't worry about it being perfect at all. Once this dries, it won't be quite as dark. It's going to be quite a bit more muted. And that looks good. Okay, now we're going to add our foam adhesive. And we want to do this where the whole panel is popped up the same height, but I don't want my shaker material falling way down to the bottom of my card panel because that window is pretty small. So I like to frame up the window and then I add additional foam adhesive all the way down the rest of the panel. So here's the actual shaker well, and that way it just lays really nice and flat. I even added a little bit of foam adhesive in the corners to help keep my shaker stuff right there back behind the window. I like to use my powder tool then to deactivate the sticky that might still be on the sides of the foam. So hopefully my shaker components won't stick to that. This is some honeybee stamps 4-leaf clover confetti mix. I thought the greens were perfect for the color combination on this card. I did not kind of go overboard with my confetti. I added just a little bit there. The great thing about confetti is it's generally a little bit flatter than sequins or beads or something like that. So it works really nice in a lower profile shaker. Once I've pulled all of my backing paper off, I will take my background to my shaker, line that up, press that in place, and then we can adhere this whole panel to a white top fold card base to finish the design. And I usually take my adhesive and actually apply it directly to the card base and then take my panel to that. So there is the first card all finished. My final two cards feature the exact same design, just different images. And I wanted to use the new Trellis background 1 and 2 dies. I thought those were amazing. They look awesome layered. I went ahead and layered those off camera, just ran a little bit of Ranger Multi-Matte Medium liquid glue around them. Both are exactly the same. The layers were die cut from Simon Says Stamp Mint cardstock and Lawn Fawn Cilantro cardstock, and then the background is actually a leaf green Simon Says Stamp cardstock. And that is just A2 sized and layered back behind the whole thing for the tricolor background. And it gives a fantastic textured die cut looking background, which I love. From there, we're simply going to add an ostrich to the center of each, add a banner popped up, add our little sentiment strip stamped and embossed on black cardstock underneath, add any accessory images, and then finish with a scattering of those same honeybee stamps 4-leaf clover confetti mix sequins. For the balloons on the card with the balloons here, the Oh My Gostrich, You're How Old. I love how this ostrich has its head down. I thought the greeting worked well with that. We're going to add a layer of Nuvo crystal drops in White Blizzard over those balloons. It goes on and you can see it kind of has a milky finish, but as it dries, it's going to be translucent glittery. So the balloons will have a fun glittery touch to them. And for the other card, it's going to feature the ostrich standing up wearing a party hat, carrying the cake on its back, but then the greeting banner, the greeting strip, and the assortment of confetti dots all over is exactly the same. The final thing I did was take glossy accents and add it to the beaks on each of the ostrich, let that completely dry, and this trio of birthday cards featuring wplus9, Oh My Gostrich stamps and dies, and many more stamp set, and the Trellis background 1 and 2 dies are all finished. Thank you so much for joining me today for these birthday cards featuring wplus9. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring birthday cards that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.